Daniel strolled in, boots squeaking on wet tile. "Ma'am, let's see some ID," he said, voice dripping with attitude. The woman reached into her coat slowly, calm, confident. She pulled out a leather case and flipped it open. A government badge with a federal seal. "Naomi Carter," she said. "Inspector, Department of Civil Oversight." Daniel chuckled. "Nice prop. You print that at Kinko's?" Naomi didn't flinch. "That badge is real, officer. I'm here on an active investigation tied to your district." He leaned closer. "You mean my station?" She held his gaze. "That's right." That one sentence was enough to set his whole world on fire. He just didn't know it yet. Crow smirked, puffing his chest. "Lady, you can't just walk around flashing badges. I've seen enough wannabes for one lifetime." Naomi tilted her head, her voice calm but sharp. "And I've seen enough cops who think a badge means untouchable." The tension thickened. The rain outside hit harder. "All right," Daniel said, spinning his cuffs. "You want to play Fed? You can do it from a cell." He cuffed her wrists tight. She didn't resist, didn't even blink. "You're making a mistake that's gonna follow you, Officer Crow," she said quietly. He froze mid-step. "How the hell you know my name?" Naomi smiled faintly. "Because I've read your file." That line hit him like thunder. His gut twisted, but his ego kept walking her out the door. At the station, Crow tossed her file on the desk. His partner, Officer Brooks, heavyset, loud, and half a cup of coffee away from lazy, whistled. "You arrestin' another protester, Danny?" Crow shook his head. "Nah. She's claiming she's some kinda inspector. Says she's investigating us." Brooks burst out laughing. "An inspector? At 10 p.m.? Man, that's wild." "Yeah," Crow said, typing up the report. "Fake badge, fake story. Probably trying to sue the department later." They threw her in holding. But Naomi didn't yell, didn't beg. She just sat there, staring straight at the security camera like she knew exactly who was watching. And that's when the phone rang, the call that made Crow's blood run cold. "Unknown number." Crow answered. "Officer Crow." A calm voice replied, "Detective Crow, this is Special Agent Lawson from Federal Oversight. You currently have one of our inspectors in custody, Naomi Carter." His throat went dry. She said she was an inspector, but I thought." "Release her." Immediately, the agent said, voice sharp. "And I'd advise you to contact legal counsel. You're now part of her investigation." Click. Brooks looked over. "Yo, what's that about?" Crow's voice cracked. "She's real." Minutes later, Naomi was released. She stood in front of Crow, soaked in rain, cuffs still red on her wrists. He tried to speak, but she cut him off. "Thank you for confirming what I suspected." He frowned. "Suspected what?" Naomi stepped closer. "That some cops will do anything to feel powerful. Even lie on paperwork about a black woman who knows the law better than them." Then she walked out, slow, deliberate, leaving silence in her wake. Crow stood frozen. The badge on his chest suddenly felt heavier than ever. He thought the worst was over. But that arrest, that single mistake, just made him the center of a federal storm. And Naomi Carter? She wasn't done. Not even close. When a cop lies, the paperwork might sleep, but the truth never does. And Naomi Carter was wide awake. 3 days after her arrest, the Atlanta sun burned hot enough to melt pride. Officer Daniel Crow sat in his cruiser, sunglasses on, pretending the city wasn't whispering about what happened. Word had spread he cuffed a federal inspector. "Yo, Danny, you trending in the break room," Brooks joked, holding up his phone. "Whole station Logan. You better hope she don't press charges." Crow gritted his teeth. "She won't. She's just another bureaucrat trying to scare me." But deep down, he felt that crawl under his skin, the kind that told him something bad was coming. Meanwhile, Naomi Carter sat inside a federal building downtown. Crisp suit, black heels, eyes like storm clouds. Across from her sat Agent Lawson, her superior. "You sure you want to go back in, Carter? That precinct's dirty, but these guys play rough," Lawson said. Naomi leaned forward. That's exactly why I'm going back. Crow's report had falsified timestamps, missing dashcam footage, and altered witness statements. If they did it to me, imagine how many others. Lawson sighed. All right, we'll give you clearance to run a covert internal probe. But you're walking into a boys' club with badges. Keep your guard up. Naomi smirked. Don't worry, sir. They already underestimated me once. I'll make sure they regret doing it again. By the time Naomi walked back into that station, she wasn't a victim. She was the storm coming for revenge. Crow nearly choked on his coffee when he saw her badge flash at the front desk. Inspector Carter. Back so soon, she said to the receptionist, who froze mid-sentence. Crow whispered under his breath, You gotta be kidding me. Naomi turned to him, all business. Officer Crow, I'm here to conduct a procedural audit of your precinct. Don't worry. I'll make sure every form you filled out is accounted for. Brooks snorted from the corner. Damn, Danny, she's auditing you. The whole room chuckled. Crow forced a smile, but his palms were slick with sweat. Naomi walked past him slow, the click of her heels slicing through the awkward silence. Hours later, Naomi sat in the evidence room. Papers, files, and tapes scattered across the desk. She wasn't just looking for mistakes. She was looking for patterns, and she found them. Same handwriting, same witness names showing up in unrelated cases, Crow's signature all over these reports. She leaned back in her chair, shaking her head. They've been fabricating evidence for years. She opened a folder marked confidential, traffic stop reports, and there it was. Dozens of incidents targeting young black men and women, all under Crow's unit. Same false charges, same type of wording. Naomi whispered, You picked the wrong sister to mess with, Danny. Meanwhile, Crow met with Brooks in the parking lot behind the station. Cigarettes burned in their hands. Man, she's snooping hard, Brooks said. She asked about old cases, dashcam records, even the damn budget logs. Crow scowled. She's fishing. Don't give her bait. If she finds something, we're both done. Brooks flicked his cigarette. We could, make some of those files disappear. Crow hesitated. You mean destroy federal evidence? Brooks shrugged. Ain't like she can prove nothing if it ain't there. Crow looked toward the glowing windows of the precinct, Naomi's silhouette still moving behind the blinds. We'll handle it tonight, he said coldly. But what neither of them knew was that Naomi had already installed hidden surveillance inside the evidence room. Every word they said, every file they moved, recorded. The next morning, she called a meeting. The whole precinct gathered in the briefing room, the air thick with tension. Crow sat stiff, pretending to scroll his phone. Naomi stepped up front, a small flash drive in hand. Before we start today's audit review, she said, I'd like to play something. The speakers crackled. Then came Crow's voice from the night before. We'll handle it tonight. Gasps filled the room. Brooks' jaw dropped. Crow froze. Naomi's eyes locked on his. Officer Crow, care to explain what exactly you were planning to handle? The room went dead silent. Crow stood slowly. You think you can ruin me with some edited tape? Naomi smiled. Oh, honey, that's not even the full clip. And just like that, the hunter had become the hunted. But Naomi wasn't done yet, because this lie went way deeper than one crooked cop. Next stop, the department's command office, where real power hid behind polished badges. Every lie has a heartbeat, and Naomi Carter was hearing this one loud and clear. After that recording played in the briefing room, Officer Crow's swagger cracked like glass. The laughter, the whispers, the side eyes. He could feel it all burning holes in his back. Brooks avoided him completely, acting like he'd never shared a coffee with the man. But Naomi? She walked out of that room calm, steady, and dangerous. The kind of calm that only comes when you're winning quietly. Inside the chief's office later that day, the tension was thick. Chief Reynolds, a broad-shouldered man with silver hair and a badge that had seen too many favors, sat behind his desk, fingers drumming. Inspector Carter, he said, his tone dry. You've caused quite a stir. Naomi crossed her legs and set down a folder. I didn't cause anything, Chief. I just played back what your officers already said. He exhaled through his nose, cold and slow. This department's got a reputation. I won't have a witch hunt tearing it apart. Naomi smirked. Then I suggest you start hunting the witches, sir. Reynolds' jaw tightened. You're walking a thin line, Miss Carter. She leaned in. Funny. So is your department. That's when Naomi dropped the file on his desk. Thick, labeled, and lethal. These are 32 incident reports falsified under Officer Crow's supervision. All signed off by your command. Reynolds' face twitched. Where'd you get those? Naomi's tone was calm, but her eyes were fire. From your own system. I just stopped pretending not to see what's been sitting in plain sight. That night, the storm outside rolled heavy. Thunder echoed across the city like a warning shot. Crow sat in his apartment, lights off, TV muted, just staring at his gun on the coffee table. His phone buzzed, an unknown number. Who's this? He muttered. A man's voice came through, smooth and calm. Let's just say, a friend of the department. You've made a mess, officer. Crow stiffened. Who the hell are you? Someone who doesn't want that inspector making any more noise. We can clean this up, permanently. The call ended. No name, no trace, just a chill in the air. Crow rubbed his temples. Damn it. Meanwhile, Naomi worked late in her temporary office, eyes glued to her laptop. The deeper she went into the precinct's archives, the uglier it got. Missing evidence. Lost reports. Dozens of cases where minorities were jailed with zero proof. She whispered under her breath. This isn't just negligence. It's organized. Her phone rang, Agent Lawson again. Carter, we just got a ping. Internal chatter says you've rattled someone high up. You need backup. Naomi shook her head. If I bring backup now, they'll bury the files before I get the proof. Naomi. She cut him off. Trust me, sir. I'm close. What Naomi didn't know was that Crow wasn't just scared, he was desperate. And desperate men make stupid moves. Later that night, Crow met Brooks behind a closed diner on 4th Street. Same one where they used to grab coffee after shifts. But this time, the air felt different. Brooks leaned against his car. You got that call too? Crow nodded. Yeah. They want her gone. Brooks swallowed hard. Man, she's federal. You go after her, you're done. Crow snapped. I'm already done. You think she'll stop at me? She's gonna burn the whole department. Brooks looked away, shaking his head. You dig your own grave, Danny. Crow's voice dropped cold. Then I'll dig hers first. Back at her apartment, Naomi sat by the window, city lights reflecting off the glass. Her phone buzzed again. A message, unknown number. You should have stayed quiet. Accidents happen. Her eyes narrowed. She screenshotted it, forwarded it to Lawson, then whispered, if they want to play dirty, I can dig too. She opened her secure drive and uploaded everything she had. Documents, recordings, logs, to a federal cloud system. You try me, you'll still lose, she muttered. The next morning, she walked back into the precinct like nothing had happened. Smile sharp, heels clicking. But Crow's eyes followed her every move, full of hate and fear. And somewhere above them, in an office filled with smoke and secrets, Chief Reynolds made a call. If Carter keeps digging, she'll expose us all. Handle it quietly. The city didn't know it yet, but a war was brewing inside the badge. Naomi wasn't just fighting corruption anymore. She was fighting survival. They thought Naomi Carter was just another woman with a badge. They forgot. She was the kind who survives storms by becoming one. Atlanta was buzzing the next morning. Humid, restless, and mean. Inside the precinct, things were quiet, too quiet. The kind of silence that hums before something explodes. Officer Crow sat at his desk, tapping a pen, staring at Naomi across the bullpen. Every click felt like a countdown. She looked calm, typing up reports, but Crow could feel the heat building under his skin. You good, Danny? Brooks muttered nearby. Crow gritted his teeth. I'm fine. Man, you don't look fine. She's got you on every file, every case. You keep acting like this, she gon' bury you. Crow leaned closer. Not if she disappears first. Brooks blinked. You serious? Crow's jaw tightened. They told me to handle it quiet. Tonight's the night. That evening, Naomi got a call. Inspector Carter? We've got an urgent update. Possible lead on missing dashcam evidence. Meet me at the old storage site off Route 19. It's sensitive. Come alone. It was Crow's voice, but disguised, deeper, mechanical, filtered through an app. She didn't catch it. Naomi glanced at her watch. 8:47 p.m. All right, send me the access code. She grabbed her coat, phone, and small camera pen, her habit for every mission. The place was dark, old, and reeked of rust and dust. Broken signs. Empty parking lot. The kind of spot where nobody hears you yell. She parked, stepped out, and instantly felt it. That off energy. The hairs on her arms stood up. She scanned the area, flashlight cutting through the dark. Hello? She called out. Federal Inspector. Someone here. No answer. Just the sound of dripping water echoing through the empty hall. Then footsteps. Slow. Heavy. Deliberate. Naomi's hand slipped into her pocket, thumb on the panic button of her recorder. I know you're there, she said, voice steady. A shadow moved behind a pillar. Crow stepped out, hoodie on, badge nowhere in sight. His face looked twisted, angry, desperate. Shouldn't have come alone, Inspector. Naomi's eyes narrowed. You set me up. He smirked. You had it coming. You humiliated me in front of everyone. Naomi took a step back. You humiliated yourself. All I did was press play. Crow's hand hovered near his gun. You think you can ruin my life and walk away clean? She raised her chin. You already ruined your life, Danny. I'm just writing the report. Before he could draw, Naomi threw a flashlight straight at his face. Crack. He flinched. She bolted for the exit. Shots rang out. One hit the doorframe inches from her shoulder. She ducked, sprinted through the side corridor, breath sharp and fast. Her recorder was live. Every second, every sound being streamed straight to federal servers. Crow shouted, You can't run, Carter. You don't know who you're messing with. She yelled back, Neither do you. She hit a side door, kicked it open. The alarm blared. She ran out into the night rain, slipping across puddles as red and blue lights flashed in the distance. Turns out, Agent Lawson had been tracking her phone since she left her apartment. When her signal hit a dead zone, he rolled a team immediately. As Crow stepped outside, pointing his gun, the sound of sirens roared closer. Drop it, Crow. Lawson's voice echoed through a megaphone. Crow froze. Sweat rolled down his temple. Naomi stood behind a car, her clothes soaked, her expression ice-cold. He glanced around, trapped. He tried to talk, but Lawson's agents were already on him. Guns drawn. Crow dropped his weapon and raised his hands. She set me up, he yelled. She's lying. Naomi stepped forward. You set yourself up, Danny. You called me here. You tried to bury me. Lawson walked over, handcuffed Crow himself. You're under arrest for attempted assault, obstruction of justice, and conspiracy. Crow's eyes burned with hate. You think this ends with me? You don't even know who's backing this. Naomi leaned close. Oh, I will. And when I find them, they'll wish I hadn't. Crow was dragged away, shouting, but Naomi didn't flinch. She just watched as the cruiser pulled off into the dark. Lawson turned to her. You okay? She nodded slowly. Yeah, but this isn't over. Lawson frowned. You mean there's more? Naomi looked up at the sky, rain dripping off her chin. Crow's just a pawn. The people protecting him, they're the ones running this whole game. She took a deep breath. And now, I'm coming for them. They say snakes don't hide in the grass anymore. They sit in office chairs, wear suits, and smile for the cameras. A week had passed since Crow's arrest, and the city was buzzing. Every news station played the same headline. Atlanta officer arrested for attempted assault on federal inspector. The department tried to act calm, but inside, it was chaos. Files were being shredded, hard drives crashed, and everyone suddenly forgot how to talk. Naomi walked through the station like she owned it because at this point, she kinda did. Everyone moved out of her way. Even the janitor stopped sweeping when she passed. But Naomi wasn't there for small wins. Crow was behind bars, but his last words haunted her. You don't even know who's backing this. She knew what that meant. Someone bigger was pulling the strings. Naomi met Agent Lawson at a downtown cafe, where the smell of burnt espresso mixed with secrets. You sure you want to keep going? He asked. You've already done enough to shake the city. Naomi stirred her coffee slowly. Crow's just the surface. Look deeper, and you'll see the roots are wrapped around this whole department. Lawson sighed. All right, what's your angle? Naomi slid a flash drive across the table. Internal affairs. They've been sitting on misconduct files for years. Missing complaints, sealed records, all conveniently buried. Lawson frowned. That's the chief's domain. You think Reynolds is involved? Naomi looked him dead in the eye. I don't think. I know. To expose a monster, sometimes you gotta walk into its den. Naomi was about to go undercover inside internal affairs, and that meant playing nice with people who'd sell their own soul for a pension bonus. 2 days later, Naomi showed up at the internal affairs office, dressed sharp but quiet. Her cover story, a compliance consultant sent to streamline digital case management. In reality, she was there to find the skeletons hidden behind encrypted firewalls. Her main target? A man named Lieutenant Harris, Chief Reynolds' right hand and the keeper of all sensitive files. He smiled when he saw her. Inspector Carter. Heard a lot about you. You got the whole precinct nervous. Naomi smiled politely. Just doing my job, Lieutenant. I like things clean. He chuckled. Careful with that attitude. Around here, clean gets dirty quick. Hours passed. Naomi kept her tone professional while her fingers did the real work, sliding a miniature data stick into the department's main server port. Her laptop started cloning encrypted files in the background. As she waited, she flipped through old case records, pretending to review compliance data. What she found made her blood run cold. Unjustified force reports dismissed. Internal reviews closed without signatures. Complaints against Chief Reynolds marked classified. She whispered under her breath. This whole system's built to protect the guilty. Just then, Harris walked by. Everything all right, Miss Carter? She smiled. Perfectly fine. Just cleaning up the mess. By midnight, she had what she needed. A full data dump of the department's darkest secrets. But as she was packing up, the door opened behind her. It was Chief Reynolds. Working late, Inspector? He said, voice smooth but cold. Naomi didn't flinch. Just finishing a report. Reynolds leaned on the doorframe. You're making enemies, Carter. Big ones. People in this city don't like when outsiders dig too deep. Naomi stood, locking eyes with him. I'm not here to make friends, Chief. I'm here to make things right. He stepped closer. Let me give you some advice. The system doesn't change. It just buries people who try. She smiled. Then start digging, sir. Reynolds' jaw flexed. You're in over your head. Naomi tilted her head. Funny. That's what they said to Rosa Parks. He froze, then walked out without another word. As soon as he was gone, Naomi's laptop beeped. Transfer complete. She pulled the data stick, slid it into her pocket, and left quietly. Back at her apartment, she loaded the files. What she saw next was worse than she expected. Payment trails from local politicians to the chief's community fund. Police reports rewritten to protect major donors. Internal affairs officers taking bribes to close racial misconduct cases. And on top of all that, evidence that Crow's violent arrests had been encouraged from the top. Naomi sat back, whispering to herself, this isn't corruption. It's a business. Her phone buzzed. A new text. Unknown number. We know what you took. Return the files, or you'll end up like Crow. Naomi stared at it, her heart steady. Then she typed back one line. Try me. She hit send. Outside, thunder rumbled through the night again, as if the city itself knew a storm was coming. Naomi Carter wasn't done. Not even close. You can hide a lie for a while, But once the truth gets a mic, it screams. 2 days after Naomi Carter downloaded the files, Atlanta woke up to a storm that had nothing to do with weather. Every TV, phone, and news feed in the city lit up with one headline. Leaked documents expose police corruption, evidence points to Chief Reynolds. The files, anonymous and explosive, had been sent to every major network, every journalist, and every watchdog in the state. Names, money trails, falsified reports, all out in the open. Naomi sat in her apartment, watching the chaos unfold on TV. She hadn't leaked the files, not directly. She'd shared them securely with Agent Lawson. But somewhere between federal hands and the press, things had moved faster than she planned. And when corruption feels cornered, it doesn't beg. It bites. Chief Reynolds' phone rang nonstop that morning. Reporters outside his house. Cameras flashing. His name trending on social media for all the wrong reasons. He slammed his fist on the desk. "Who the hell leaked this?" Lieutenant Harris stammered. "Sir, we're tracking the IPs. The files came from inside federal servers." Reynolds glared. "Then the inspector's not just digging. She's burning the whole department." He grabbed his coat and stormed out. Meanwhile, Naomi got a call from Lawson. His tone was tense. "Naomi, what did you do?" She frowned. "I didn't leak it, Lawson. I sent the data through the official channel. Someone beat me to the punch." He sighed. "That leak's got Washington crawling all over this case. But listen, we've intercepted chatter. They're coming after you." Naomi's voice hardened. "Who?" "Reynolds' people. Maybe more. You need to lay low." Naomi shook her head. "No. If I run, I look guilty. If I stay, I prove my point." Lawson muttered. "You're too stubborn for your own good." Naomi smirked. "That's what gets the job done." That night, she drove through downtown, headlights reflecting off slick pavement. The city looked the same, but she could feel it watching her. A black SUV had been tailing her since she left her apartment. She took a sharp turn into a parking garage, killed her lights, and waited. The SUV followed. Naomi whispered, "All right, let's see who's behind the curtain." She reached into her glove compartment, pulling out her small camera pen, recording live. The SUV stopped 2 rows back. Doors opened. 2 men stepped out. Plain clothes, but their movements screamed cop. Naomi started her car. Tires screeched as she reversed, then floored it straight toward the exit. The men dove aside as her car ripped through the barrier and out into the street. She wasn't running scared. She was running smart. She called Lawson mid-drive. "They just tried to box me in at the Peachtree garage." Lawson cursed. "I'm tracking your GPS, keep moving. Don't go home. They'll be waiting there." Naomi turned onto the freeway, sirens wailing in the distance. But before she could respond, her phone buzzed with a new message. Unknown number again. "You started this war. Don't cry when it ends." Naomi's grip tightened on the wheel. "You want a war?" she muttered. "Then you got one." Back at the precinct, Reynolds was losing control. Reporters surrounded the building. His face flashed on every screen. Chief accused of cover-up and obstruction. He turned to Harris. "Find her, before she takes this to the feds." Harris hesitated. "Sir, she is the feds." Reynolds' glare could have cut steel. "Then find someone inside the bureau who'll make her disappear quietly." The next morning, Naomi went to meet Lawson at a federal safe house, or at least that's what she thought. When she walked in, something felt off. No guards. No movement. Just silence. She called out, "Lawson?" A voice from the corner replied, calm and low. "He's not here, Inspector." Naomi turned. Lieutenant Harris stepped from the shadows, gun drawn. "What are you doing here?" she demanded. Harris smirked. "Cleaning up the mess you made. You should have stayed in your lane." Naomi's jaw tightened. "So you're the leak. You wanted to frame me for this." He shrugged. "Doesn't matter now. Once you're gone, this all goes away." But before he could pull the trigger, a gunshot rang out, not his. He dropped to the floor, clutching his shoulder. Behind him, Agent Lawson stepped in with his pistol raised. "You okay, Naomi?" She exhaled, steady but shaken. Yeah, but that confirms it. Reynolds had someone in your office. Lawson nodded grimly. This isn't just corruption. It's infiltration. Naomi looked down at Harris bleeding on the floor. He's small time. Reynolds is still out there. Lawson said quietly, then it's time we end this. As they left the safe house, Naomi glanced back one last time. The city lights burned bright against the night, a reminder that the truth always finds its way out, no matter how many people try to bury it. And this time, she wasn't just investigating. She was going to expose everyone. When the law gets dirty, justice has to get creative. 2 days later, Naomi Carter sat in a quiet diner off Auburn Avenue, her coffee untouched. Across from her, Agent Lawson scrolled through his tablet, the glow from the screen painting dark circles under his eyes. They're panicking, he said. Half the department's gone silent, and Reynolds is deleting everything he can. Naomi smirked. Good. That means he's scared. But we can't let him vanish before the truth hits daylight. Lawson raised a brow. So what's your play? Naomi leaned forward, her voice low. We make him feel untouchable. Let him think he's winning. Then we trap him live. Lawson frowned. Live? As in televised. She nodded. Exactly. Public hearing next week. City Council Oversight Committee. He'll be forced to testify. I'll make sure every camera in the city is pointed at him. Lawson whistled softly. You're bold, Carter. Naomi smiled coldly. Bold gets justice. The problem with baiting a wolf is making sure it bites the right hand. Later that night, Naomi met with her small circle of trusted allies, 2 federal tech analysts and a whistleblower attorney named Jade Morales. Jade set a laptop on the table. We've got the audio files, Harris's confession, the payments, the falsified timestamps. All of it. Naomi nodded. Good. We'll drop this during the hearing. I'll question Reynolds directly. No edits. No filters. Jade grinned. Girl, that's savage. You sure he'll show up? Naomi smirked. Reynolds has an ego the size of Texas. He won't resist a stage. The team laughed lightly, but the air was heavy. Everyone knew one mistake could turn deadly. The next day, Naomi got an encrypted call. Unknown number. She answered anyway. Inspector Carter, a gruff voice said. You think you're clever? She recognized it instantly, Chief Reynolds. You should have stayed quiet, he said. Now you're dragging good cops through the mud. Naomi replied, calm but sharp. Good cops don't frame innocent women. And they sure as hell don't launder taxpayer money. He chuckled darkly. You think you're safe behind that badge? I've buried bigger threats than you. Naomi didn't flinch. Then you'd better start digging, Chief. She hung up. Her reflection in the phone screen looked steady. But inside, she knew the clock was ticking. The closer you get to the truth, the louder the lies become. The next morning, Naomi's car alarm went off at 6 a.m. She rushed outside and froze. Someone had slashed her tires and spray-painted "rat" across her windshield. A message. She took photos, filed the report, but said nothing else. No one could know her nerves were fraying. At headquarters, Lawson caught her pacing. They're trying to rattle you, he said. It's working, she muttered. But I'm not backing down. Lawson grinned. That's the Carter I know. He handed her a flash drive. Everything you'll need for the hearing. Backup copies. Hidden encryption. Triple safe. Naomi took it, pocketed it, and said quietly, This ends next week, but even the strongest plans can bleed from the inside. That night, Jade got a call from someone claiming to be a city official needing early access to the evidence for security screening. She hesitated, but the caller used a real internal code. So, she uploaded one of the non-critical files. What she didn't know, that official worked for Reynolds. By morning, Reynolds had a piece of the puzzle, just enough to predict Naomi's next move. The day before the hearing, Naomi received an email titled, Friendly Advice. Attached was a photo of her brother leaving his night shift at the hospital, taken from a car window. Her blood ran cold. She called Lawson immediately. They're watching my family now, she said, voice shaking with anger. He cursed under his breath. That's it. We're pulling you from the hearing. It's too risky. Naomi snapped. No. If I stop now, they win. He threatened my brother because he's desperate. That means we're close. She looked out the window at the Atlanta skyline, the city lights glowing like fire. Tomorrow, I walk into that courtroom, and I make sure Reynolds never walks out the same. Because when a woman's truth is all she's got left, she turns it into a weapon no lie can survive. When truth finally walks into the room, lies start running for the door. The Atlanta City Hall was packed. Reporters shoulder to shoulder, cameras clicking nonstop, news vans clogging every inch of Peachtree Street. Felt less like a public hearing and more like Judgment Day. Naomi Carter adjusted her blazer in the mirror backstage. Calm face, steady breath. Inside, her heart was pounding like a drumline. Agent Lawson walked in, earpiece buzzing. You sure you're ready for this, Carter? She looked him dead in the eye. I was born ready. Let's make him answer. As she stepped onto the floor, a wave of noise hit. Reporters shouting questions, flashes popping like fireworks. The city council members sat up front, stern-faced, while Chief Reynolds sat opposite her, flanked by his lawyers. He looked smug, almost bored, like he was watching a rerun. Inspector Carter, he said with a fake smile. I see you've brought your circus. Naomi didn't blink. Don't worry, Chief. You're the main act. The crowd murmured. She didn't come to play defense. She came to end the game. The chairman cleared his throat. We'll begin with statements from both parties. Reynolds went first, his voice smooth, rehearsed. He blamed miscommunication, faulty evidence, and even called Naomi's accusations personal vendettas. When he finished, Naomi stood. The silence in the room was electric. She looked around slowly before speaking. For years, certain officers in this department abused their power, falsifying reports, framing innocent people, covering their tracks with badge and blue. She paused, eyes locking on Reynolds. And today, those lies stop hiding behind uniforms. She plugged a flash drive into the projector. The screen behind her lit up, video footage, time-stamped, showing Reynolds meeting a known dealer, taking an envelope and signing falsified case logs. Gasps rippled through the room. Reynolds' lawyer jumped up. Objection. This is doctored evidence. Naomi didn't flinch. Funny you'd say that, because this footage came directly from your precinct's own surveillance server. Check the metadata. Lawson, standing near the back, smiled faintly. The plan was working, but snakes don't go down without striking. Reynolds leaned back, smirking. Nice try, Inspector. But while you were busy playing hero, maybe you should have checked your sources. He nodded to his attorney, who pulled out a file, Naomi's own investigation credentials. Ladies and gentlemen, Reynolds said, this woman isn't who she says she is. She's under review for unauthorized access and data theft. She's being investigated herself. The room erupted. Cameras turned toward Naomi. Lawson's jaw tightened. He hadn't seen that coming. Naomi took a slow breath, letting the noise die down. Then she smiled. You're right, Chief. I am under review, because I found this. She pulled another flash drive from her pocket and held it up. This contains not just your deals, but the signatures of every officer who helped you. And before you call it fake, she nodded toward the back of the room. Meet my witness. The doors opened. Lieutenant Harris, his arm still bandaged from the earlier shootout, stepped inside. The crowd went silent. You could hear a pin drop. Reynolds froze. What the hell is this? Harris walked up to the stand. This is me cleaning my conscience, he said. I recorded everything. Reynolds ordered the frame up. He paid off witnesses. He even tried to have Inspector Carter silenced. Reynolds slammed his fist on the table. You're lying. Harris looked straight at him. Then play the recording, Chief. Naomi clicked play. The speakers crackled. Reynolds' voice filled the room. Make sure that woman takes the fall. I want her gone before this blows up. The crowd gasped again, louder this time. Reporters surged forward. Flashbulbs exploded. Reynolds' face turned pale. Naomi crossed her arms, calm as a storm after thunder. You framed the wrong woman, Chief. I wasn't just investigating you. She leaned closer to the mic. I was assigned to take down your entire ring. The chairman slammed the gavel. Order. Order in the room. But the noise was unstoppable. Reporters shouting, phones filming, truth spreading faster than damage control could move. Reynolds stood, pointing at Naomi, face red with fury. You think this ends here? You think I'll let you ruin me? Naomi's voice cut through the chaos like glass. You already did that yourself. Security moved in. Reynolds' lawyer tried to protest, but the FBI agents entered, badges flashing. Reynolds was cuffed before he could take another step. As they led him out, Naomi finally sat down, the adrenaline crashing hard. Lawson approached, whispering, You did it. She gave a tired smile. No, Lawson. We did it. But something tells me this isn't over. Because in her gut, Naomi knew. Someone bigger was pulling the strings behind Reynolds. She might have won the battle, but the war for truth was just getting started. The truth had finally gone public. But the internet doesn't sleep, and neither do enemies with power. Within 24 hours, the video of Chief Reynolds' arrest had hit every screen in America. News anchors called it the justice shock of Atlanta. Hashtags exploded, hashtag justice for Naomi, hashtag truth over badge, hashtag black woman power. Naomi Carter had become a symbol overnight. Talk shows, news outlets, podcasts, everyone wanted her story. But while the world was celebrating, Naomi wasn't smiling. She sat in her apartment, blinds half drawn, watching her own face on the screen. Inspector Naomi Carter, the woman who exposed Atlanta's biggest police scandal. She turned the TV off. Lawson's voice crackled through her phone. You okay, Carter? Naomi sighed. Depends what you call okay. Half the country thinks I'm a hero. The other half thinks I'm a traitor. You did the right thing, Lawson said. Yeah, she muttered. But right doesn't always mean safe. The higher the truth climbs, the more dangerous the fall. A soft knock echoed on her door. Naomi froze, hand instinctively moving to her sidearm. Who is it? A voice answered softly. Delivery for Carter. She checked the peephole. A young man in a courier jacket, holding a plain envelope. Naomi opened the door just a crack, accepted it, and shut it fast. No return address. Just her name, typed. She opened it carefully. Inside was a small flash drive and a note that said, You only uncovered one piece of the puzzle. He wasn't working alone. Naomi's heartbeat kicked up. She plugged it into her laptop, isolating it from her main network. Files appeared, coded reports, encrypted emails, and one audio recording labeled Federal Chain. She hit play. A man's voice came through, calm, confident, powerful. Keep Reynolds in control. The Carter pushes further, cut her funding and bury the files. No one touches the bureau side of this. Naomi froze. That voice wasn't local. It was federal. She hadn't just exposed a dirty cop. She'd poked a hole in a government cover-up. Naomi called Lawson immediately. You need to hear this, she said. Within minutes, he was at her place. They listened together, faces hardening with every word. When it ended, Lawson cursed under his breath. That's Deputy Director Collins. He's one of ours, top level. Naomi sat back, stunned. So the corruption doesn't stop at Reynolds. It starts above him. Lawson nodded grimly. This is bigger than we thought. We'll need clearance to go after him. Naomi shook her head. Clearance? Lawson, he is the clearance. Lawson looked uneasy. Then we'll need to be ghosts. The next morning, Naomi's name hit headlines again, but not in the way she hoped. Federal inspector under investigation for leaking classified data. Her stomach dropped. They flipped the script, she muttered. Lawson called. They're making you the villain, Carter. They're claiming you violated federal protocol. Naomi's voice broke. They're framing me again. You need to disappear, Lawson said urgently. Go dark till I clear this. Naomi glanced around her apartment, Photos, files, her badge. Everything that defined her life. She packed only what mattered. Her flash drives, her gun, her ID, and one small locket from her late mother. "I'm not running," she said quietly. "I'm regrouping." She walked out, blending into the night like smoke. 2 days later, Naomi met Lawson in an abandoned warehouse outside the city, their new HQ. He had news, but his face said it wasn't good. "Collins just ordered an internal sweep. Anyone who worked with you is being questioned. They're freezing accounts, seizing data." Naomi clenched her jaw. "He's erasing the trail." Lawson opened a folder. "Not all of it. You remember Harris? Before they transferred him to holding, he passed me something." He handed her a small notepad filled with scribbles. Names, dates, and one strange phrase, Operation Mirror Line. Naomi frowned. "What the hell is Mirror Line?" Lawson sighed. "Whatever it is, it's why they framed you. And it didn't start in Atlanta." Naomi stared out at the distant city lights. Atlanta was sleeping, but the system she'd exposed was very much awake. She whispered, "If they think they can bury me again, they've forgotten who I am." Lawson looked at her with quiet respect. "What's the plan?" Naomi turned back, eyes sharp. "We take this fight to DC. I'm done playing defense. Time to flip the whole damn table." The sound of sirens echoed far away, faint, but closing in. Naomi smiled grimly. "Let them come," she muttered. "They'll find I'm not the same woman they tried to frame." She took one last look at the flash drive labeled Federal Chain, then slid it into her pocket. "You wanted to cover up Collins?" she said softly. "You're about to get a spotlight. When truth goes to war with power, only one walks out clean." The morning sky over Washington, D.C. was gray, heavy, and silent. The kind of silence that comes before a storm. Naomi Carter pulled her coat tighter as she stepped out of a rented car and stared up at the marble steps of the Federal Bureau headquarters. This was it, the final fight. No backup. No safety net. Beside her, Agent Lawson adjusted his earpiece. "You sure about this? Once we walk in there, it's game over. One way or another." Naomi smirked, the fire in her eyes unshaken. "Then let's make sure the right people lose." She carried only a small black case. Inside it, the encrypted drive labeled Federal Chain. The proof of everything. Corruption, manipulation, and federal involvement in Reynolds' operation. When you expose lies this big, even your own allies start looking nervous. As they entered the building, every security guard's gaze followed them. Naomi could feel the tension humming through the walls. At the end of the long corridor stood Deputy Director Collins. Tall, calm, expression carved from stone. He gave a small, practiced smile. "Inspector Carter," he said, "you've caused quite a storm. Care to explain why I'm getting calls from half of Washington?" Naomi's tone was sharp but steady. "Because the truth finally stopped knocking and kicked the damn door down." Lawson placed a folder on the table. "We have proof you were directing Reynolds, ordering data destruction, and suppressing federal audits." Collins chuckled. "Proof? You mean the files you stole from our system? You've already violated half a dozen security laws. You'll be lucky if you keep your job." Naomi leaned forward, voice cold. "Funny thing about power, Director. It only works when people still believe you deserve it." She pulled a tiny device from her pocket and set it on the table. The red light blinked. "This meeting's being broadcast live," she said softly. "National news. Every word you say is being heard across the country. The mighty don't crumble quietly, they crash." Collins' calm vanished. His voice sharpened. "You think this stunt will save you? You've just committed treason." Naomi smiled slightly. "No, sir. Treason is selling out justice for money and hiding behind a badge while people suffer." Lawson added, "The Bureau's watching Collins. Every agent in this building is hearing you right now." Collins' hand twitched toward his desk drawer. Naomi noticed, her instincts kicked in. "Don't," she said firmly. But it was too late. He pulled a small pistol and aimed it at her. "You don't get to rewrite history, Carter," he shouted. A shot rang out, but it wasn't his. Collins staggered back, clutching his arm, dropping the gun. Lawson stood beside Naomi, weapon still smoking. "You always did talk too much," Lawson muttered. Security stormed in, weapons drawn. But when they saw Naomi's live broadcast streaming on the monitor, the whole exchange caught in real time, the mood shifted. For once, the system couldn't bury the truth because the whole country was watching. Within minutes, the feed spread online. Major networks replayed the footage. #Carter vs. Corruption started trending globally. Collins was arrested on the spot. Reynolds, already in custody, turned state witness to cut a deal, confirming everything Naomi had exposed. Naomi stood outside the building hours later, the wind cutting across her face. Reporters crowded her, microphones everywhere. "Inspector Carter, how does it feel to bring down one of the biggest corruption rings in U.S. law enforcement history?" She paused for a moment, choosing her words carefully. "It's not about bringing someone down," she said softly. "It's about standing up for those who can't." The crowd erupted in applause. Cameras flashed. But Naomi's expression stayed calm, almost tired. She wasn't celebrating. She was reflecting. Justice doesn't heal the scars, it just proves they mattered. That night, Naomi sat by the Lincoln Memorial, city lights glowing across the water. Lawson joined her with 2 coffees. "You did it, Carter," he said. "You actually did it." She took the cup, smiled faintly. "We did it. But you know what's crazy?" "What's that?" She looked out at the monument. "Even when you win, it still costs you something." Lawson nodded quietly. "Maybe that's what makes it real." Naomi chuckled softly. "Yeah, real enough to hurt." Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "You exposed the cracks. Now fix the system." Naomi read it twice. No name, no sender ID. She smirked. "Guess the job's not done yet." Standing up, she looked back toward the glowing skyline. DC alive and humming beneath the night sky. "They tried to frame me," she whispered. "But all they did was frame the truth." She slipped her badge into her pocket, turned away from the monument, and disappeared into the city. Not as a victim, not even as a hero, but as a reminder that sometimes the loudest revolution starts with one woman refusing to stay silent. Because when the world lies, a black woman with truth becomes the loudest voice in the room.